Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast, sponsored by Redwood Living. Today, this episode, we really have a treat for you, for everybody watching and listening. Voices for Voices, we were fortunate to be able to travel to Ukraine, the capital city of Kyiv, spend some time with the people, talk with the people, and share their voices with us and now with you. So this episode that we're going to be going to very shortly is going to be with Inna Sovsun. Inna is she's a member of the Ukraine Parliament. She is the deputy head of the Golosmen Party, and she was the first deputy minister of education and science from 2014 to 2016. Inna was very, very nice. Awesome to spend her time with us. We sat down in a coffee shop across the street from the Parliament building in Kyiv. Had a conversation, and the conversation, as you'll see and hear, ranges from wartime in the country of Ukraine, how resilient the people are, how the people of Ukraine are continuing to live as people do. They're fearful to an extent with the unprovoked Russian aggression, but they continue on with their lives. And Inna, as you'll see, she is also a teacher, so she likes sharing her experiences with others, mentoring others, and likes keeping up to date with the current events that are going on. One of the special things about Inna is at the beginning of the full-blown invasion in February of 2022, she was one of the first parliament members of Ukraine to travel to Germany and create relationships about what Germany could do to really help them in the war that was coming together, unfortunately. So she was a real trailblazer in that respect. So you'll see she talks about talking with friends about, hey, maybe you can come here and talk with some of our leaders and see if there's any help that can be provided. And we look back to World War II. Germany was at the forefront of World War II. So a lot of history with Germany, with having that first contact of Inna traveling over to Germany. And then currently within the Parliament, she's recently introduced an LGBTQ piece of legislation, which has garnered her some recognition from the Western media. So she'll talk about that as well. But as you have seen with our TV show and podcast, we're really bringing the voices of the people wherever they are to you, and that's the goal. So while I was risking my life to an extent, I feel that is very important to be with the people, to see what they're feeling for a few days of being there with the air raid sirens, and just seeing how resilient the people are of going on and living their lives. So I'm very excited to now send this episode to Kyiv, Ukraine, with my interview with Inna. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. We have a live edition on remote in Kyiv, Ukraine, and very excited and happy to be joined with Inna Sovsun from the Ukrainian Parliament. She's been gracious with her time, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
You bet. So we have I think a mutual acquaintance, Roman Shermida. He told me to tell you hello.
Okay. Say hello to him.
And he mentioned in doing research that you were one of the first parliamentary members to travel to Germany.
For multiple reasons. Yeah. So I think to begin with, when the whole big war started, it was very unclear as to what do you do as a member of parliament? What is your job during the wartime? And I think at the beginning, the first 2 months, basically all I was doing interviews for international media, talking about what is happening in Ukraine. But then I realized that it's not enough, and there is, with me having the mandate, me being member of parliament, I could do more with lobbying for Ukraine's national interests, directly talking to people. And I did have some friends in Germany, and they said, we really need some Ukrainian people, preferably someone in some sort of position of power, to talk to the Germans, because they don't understand what is happening. It's not necessarily on top on their agenda, and so on and so forth. So I got invited there. I think the first trip was May last year, so that's a year ago, a bit more than a year ago. And I think I took like 7-8 trips to Germany after that. Next is upcoming next week, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so especially for our American audience, as being an American here in Kyiv for 5 days, seeing the vibrancy of the city, the people, the resiliency after air raid sirens at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
But coffee helps.
Yeah, that was gonna be the question of what do you think brings that resiliency with the Ukrainian people to continue on, because you can't just stay idle for hours and hours and days and days.
I think people keep on asking us that, but it's like this: when your whole life is at threat, when the existence of your society is threatened, it becomes existential for you. It's like, if I stop moving, if I stop working, if we collapse, then there is no us anymore. I mean, not necessarily physically, but that is also a good chance. But Ukraine will not exist anymore. For us, it's existential. If we stop fighting, then we lose, and that is something that it's just survival of us as a nation, as people. So do we get tired? Yes, of course. I just got a text from one of my assistants, and she said, "Sorry, I cannot work right now because we had the whole. You've been here.
Yeah.
You could hear all the sirens and all the explosions all over the city and so on and so forth." She texted me and said, I cannot work anymore. I need to sleep for 2 hours, and then I will get back to doing what I have to do. So yeah, we do this as well because we are humans. But I also think, on the other hand, what I think, and my partner is with the army. He's been serving since day one of the war. And when I think about, he doesn't have the right to get tired, because when you're in the trenches, you have to do the job, and you cannot complain. And then I think I cannot complain either, because the guys and girls over there do not complain. So we just have to keep on fighting.
So mentally, how do you work through those periods of time? You just take time to rest and then go back at it?
I go for a run.
Okay.
Yeah, I run. That's my So that's my kind of how I get away from stress as much as possible, of course. And then you go for a run, and suddenly there is another air raid alert.
Yeah.
That happened too.
Yeah.
To me. But yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, that's trying to find the healthier ways of coping with the stress of all of this.
Yeah. What got you interested in Parliament to begin with?
Oh, I was born. I was born in Kharkiv. This is actually important. I was born in Kharkiv, which is the second biggest city. It's on the east of Ukraine, as we all know, very close to Russian border. And I was born there. It's largely a Russian-speaking region. but I was born in a Ukrainian-speaking family. As many other people in Kharkiv are actually from Ukrainian-speaking families, but if you would go to Kharkiv in the 90s, you would never hear Ukrainian language, even though like 35% of people would say that this is their native language, but people were ashamed of speaking it publicly. And I was shamed into not speaking Ukrainian in public in the country which was at the time called Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. And then in the country which is called Ukraine, like if I were to speak Ukrainian on the street, people would look weirdly at me. And I think that got me into thinking about politics very early on. Like, why is that? My parents speak this language, this is how we speak, I'm called Ukrainian. But then if I try to speak Ukrainian, people will look weirdly at me and bully me. I was bullied because I was a Ukrainian speaker in kindergarten, which was ridiculous. So I think that got me very early into getting interested in politics overall, from the very early stages. And so I proceeded to doing my bachelor's in political science here in Kyiv, in Kyiv Academy. So I was preparing for this. And I was working in civil society organizations in non-governmental sector. And then in 2014, after the Revolution of Dignity, I was asked to join the team in the Ministry of Education and Science as first Deputy Minister of Education and Science. And I served there for 2.5 years. And I got back to academia, to teaching and so on, but then I was asked to join the team running for Parliament.
Yeah, congratulations being the first member with the education. That's big. Being the first of anything. Mostly.
Not first in that sense, but I think that kind of speaks to my early interest in politics and how I chose to proceed it from the very early, like me being 16 when I had to choose this.
So you mentioned teaching.
Yeah.
What motivates you when you teach, when you're in front of people, speaking, sharing your experiences, talking about a subject matter?
I teach political science. Not exactly what I was studying, so that makes sense. And I started teaching about 12 years ago now. I've been teaching for 12 years. I keep on asking myself why I keep on doing that, because truly the salary I'm getting there is just ridiculous. I actually I continue teaching. I teach in 2 universities, in a public and a private one.
Okay.
And public literally pays me $50 a month.
Oh.
A month, $50. Literally, my time should cost out more. But I've been doing that for 12 years. And then I also teach in a private university, which pays a little bit better, which is important for me to have additional income, because the MP salary is also not that high. Yeah, I think I keep on saying that this is my very time-consuming hobby, because I just like that for a couple of reasons. One, because I teach, I constantly have to keep on reading, to keep on updating my knowledge, and I think I would have lost track of it if I were not, because now I have to prepare for classes. So I'm like, okay, is there anything new that I can think of? So I have to continue learning myself. Secondly, it keeps me in touch with the younger people, so I understand their feelings, their things they care about, and so on and so forth. I'll give you one example of how that was important. I've been the main initiator of a bill which is very important for me on the same-sex partnerships in Ukraine. It's actually gender neutral, so it can be partnerships for man and woman as well, but also for same-sex couples. So as I do a lot of work on LGBT community overall, and I realized that 12 years ago, 10 years ago, when I was starting teaching, students in the university were kind of uncomfortable talking about this subject matter. They were unsure, and they were not completely sure how to feel about it. They felt that it's wrong to be against it, but they also not feeling comfortable to be in favor. So I could sense the audience when it's not something I teach, but when they raise this issue, I could feel this. And then about 2 years ago, I suddenly realized that they don't talk about this anymore because it's kind of a norm. It's accepted that you just support LGBT community. And so that is why they don't talk about it anymore. So I could see how the position of the young people on this issue have changed just because I'm talking to them every year. And again, I don't talk about LGBT directly, but because I teach political science, they would come up with different like issues that are in this, on the agenda in the society, and so I kind of keep track of what is going on there.
That's awesome, and I'm glad you brought that up because that was more research that I saw that bill that you just introduced, and especially in the States, that's an issue and that keeps coming up and manifests itself in different ways, and so thank you for that work that you're doing because it's all important, but that's important. What would somebody be maybe surprised and maybe the process of being in Parliament and introducing bills? Is it very similar, do you think, to the U.S. manner, or are there maybe, and you don't have to get in like super granular.
Well, I never served in the American Congress, so I wouldn't know the details, but I think there are some differences from what I know. Well, first, okay, we'll try to get into not so many details. I mean, politics is pretty much similar everywhere. There are different groups of interests, there are different people that favor different positions. I think the specifics of Ukraine is a couple. One, unfortunately, our media is very much controlled by big interest groups. I mean, like literally controlled. And then if you want to do, like, to be a party that is we're not supporting this oligarch or that oligarch, we're trying to be independent. Like, okay, that's great, but where do I speak about this if all media are controlled by different oligarch groups? And that also makes it very different and difficult to promote your initiatives, right? Because I do know how this game works now. It's like, yeah, you need to get access to a television or, big TV channels to promote. If you can, and the TV channels majority just do not invite you based on merit of your bill or like how important the bill is, but very often like how much like you can offer or like whether you're in this pool or that pool. So it has changed a little bit. And I'll give you an example with the LGBT bill. Actually, all TV channels asked me to speak because it was such a big topic that they couldn't ignore it. So it's not like we cannot overcome this, but it's a bit more difficult because of the large business groups controlling certain media. So this is, again, I understand that this can happen in the US as well, but I think free media is something that is extremely important, and it changes the dynamics of politics. I think that is a bit of difference. Secondly, I think unlike American society, which is probably even like I lived in the States for a year and I follow American politics pretty closely, and I understand that in America there are some like big issues on which you make decisions, like which party you support. Like, for instance, abortion. I don't understand the whole debate about abortion. Like, we don't have it here in Ukraine. It's a non-political matter here in Ukraine. But in the US, apparently, it's a big political matter, and people vote based on like this guy is against abortion, this is like this one is pro-life, this one is pro-choice, and so on and so forth. So, but in Ukraine, political parties are rarely so much like single issue, or like it's often very muddy. It's like it's not like this party is for this and that party is for that. Often you have to get coalition in between different parties. Like, for instance, when people ask me like what will happen to same-sex partnership bills, like which parties will support and which will not, I always say like it will not be about parties, but individual MPs. So that makes it much more difficult to get votes for your bill, because it's not like you can go and talk to the head of the party and like he or she says like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and then like, yeah, okay, I got 20 votes. Like, you have to talk to different people individually to get the votes. Again, I think that can happen in American politics as well, but with the society being a bit less structured on different political issues, the political debate is also a bit less structured. But this also gives opportunities, because you can persuade different people, and it's not like, no, try to be short. I teach in the universities, I can speak long. So.
No, this is great. That's why get your opinions, your thoughts, your experiences. besides support for the people of Ukraine, what would you hope that somebody sitting at home or listening to this would think about Ukraine, about their people, their resiliency? Because I know the military, and given it being a time of war, those conversations and are hard. But just the people in general, I've found, at least in my time, people are just down to earth, and I don't speak a lick of Ukrainian, and everybody has tried to help to understand, and I've tried to help. So being in different countries, that's not always the case. So I would think that if they're being nice and generous and conversational and friendly in the bigger cities, it may be not in the bigger cities, that they're just people, like you said, they're human beings.
Yeah. Okay, so what do I say? What do you need to know about Ukrainians?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: if you visit a Ukrainian's home, you will never leave being hungry. You will always get lots of food, and people are very much trying to be very nice to guests, like always do, unless they come with weapons.
Yeah.
But we don't like.
No, we don't.
And also we are. I think Ukrainians are very tolerant, and they can keep up with many things. And we also know that Ukraine is not a perfect country, far from it. I mean, we have many things which are wrong, and we need to fix them. But I think at some point, Ukrainians can like tolerate and like, yeah, okay, it's not nice, but okay, whatever. But then we come to a point when we're like, no, this is the red line, now we fight. And it's like I think that is what Russians have been doing. They've been pushing slowly, like Donbass, Crimea, and so on and so forth. And then at one point, when you wake up from the bombs, like you should have seen, or maybe you did see, like the lines of people trying to get into the military, literally lines. People were not running away. People were saying like, oh, now we fight. So I think this historically has been part of of Ukrainian history politically. It's like we tolerate, we wait. We probably shouldn't have tolerated many things that we did, but we did. But also we have a huge neighbor. It's kind of very difficult to fight against such a big neighbor, you know. But then at one point we say like, no, that's enough. And when we say it's enough, we really fight, and we don't give up. Another part of Ukrainians' political culture, if you add to this, we joke a lot about this, is Ukrainians always fight between ourselves. We always like, oh, so you, and on multiple issues. And it's like you wake up in the morning and you don't know what the big public fight will be about by lunchtime. It's like, oh, did you know that, like, I can't even come up with different things because it will take too long to explain. But people are always like bickering about things, complaining, and so on and so forth. But I think that's a sign of us. We can do this. We have the public space, and also it's important. If you complain about some things on Facebook, on Instagram, everything, those who make decisions will actually read to this. It's important for them to read. So I think this is a sign of a very lively political culture and very intense debates. But they are, like, I've already trained my team when we're in the middle of some big intense debate, they always start worrying, and I'm like, just relax, it's going to be gone in 2 days. It will be another topic for debate today. So yeah, it's a slightly annoying part of Ukrainian political culture, but I think that is something that makes us very, very different from Russia. Because over there they don't fight. They have one position, and it's decided over there in Kremlin by Putin himself, and they don't have the right to voice any other opinion. In here we do this. This is something that everyone will fight to do. It's like, this is my opinion, I will come and say it, and so on and so forth.
The importance of social media and the Ukrainian culture, and then in the government, how important is it? Because you mentioned that opinions and thoughts are able to be seen and maybe acted, or maybe the issue at least brought up and talked about.
So as I did mention at the beginning, big TV channels are very much like under different controls. So like we do have some independent media, but it's relatively small. But indeed, it's very good that social media have become so much more important, particularly the last like 5, 10, even 10 years. When I served in the ministry 2014, 2016, already then I couldn't ignore some debates happening on Facebook. I had to react to that. Even if it was a minor group of people, it's not like everybody's involved in Facebook debates, but still I had to react. I felt that this is the right thing to do. And everybody else does. Is like everybody follows what people are saying. I have my team, like of course I don't read through whole comments on Facebook or anything, but I ask my team to do that. This is their job. It's like we need to make sure we understand what people are feeling. And many people are just, being people. They're not necessarily very well behaved on social media.
Same in the States.
Exactly.
Everywhere.
We kind of can feel the temperature, I think, and it's important to feel it.
Yeah. How can people reach out and help the Ukrainians militarily, donations? Are there some spaces that the money will definitely get through to the right people to get the things that they need? Just spread the word and get into unpleasant comment fights in social media. That is also important because Russians are of course paying lots of troll factories to comment on their behalf. So even that is important. It's to show that people of the world are still supporting Ukraine. That is already good. If you don't have any money to donate, but if you do have money to donate, I would very much ask you to do so. And of course, my number one preference is that you donate to some big foundations that are helping Ukrainian army. Come Back Alive is the biggest and the most reputable one. Just Google Come Back Alive. It's they basically provide different stuff for the army, be it drones, vests, or anything. I mean, but it's for the army. We have to be clear about that. Many people say like, oh, I don't want to contribute to the army because I want to contribute to humanitarian cause. Well, remember that helping the army in this case is the most humanitarian thing you can do, because this is the army that is keeping us, alive, drinking our coffee over here. It's like if the army cannot do this, like any humanitarian aid will be pretty much useless. But if you still don't want to donate to a foundation that is working with the army, there are several humanitarian initiatives that you can work. We can probably leave some links below. Like there is an organization that is helping rebuild schools that Russians have destroyed, particularly around Kyiv and Chernihiv, which is up north from Kyiv. So maybe you can do this. There are several organizations that are helping with medical stuff and everything. There are organizations there is good organization that is helping with, they're installing the solar panels and storage in the hospitals because of the power cuts over the winter. Many hospitals just didn't have electricity, and hospitals, and I mean all institutions need to have electricity, but with hospitals it's particularly important. People's lives depend on this. So this is, there are many things that you can do, and there are many good organizations. Big things I will ask you not to do is don't donate to the Red Cross, because truly we don't understand where their money are going to. I would rather donate to local initiatives. They don't take huge salaries out of it, and they're really doing a good job. Yeah, I came over to Poland last year. Some of the refugees were resettled there at that time. I was able to do some humanitarian aid work and visit a mother's house, mothers with small children or pregnant, and just seeing the human beings there gave me, I guess this last year, just more time to think of how else can I do it in our organization, being Voices for Voices, trying to find ways of sharing the voice, not just individuals in the United States, but across the world, that as an organization, that we really need to do that. And so I decided I wanted to come and be with the people and be amongst them, walk amongst them, eat amongst them, talk amongst them. And I am just grateful that I was able to do it and to meet you and speak with you, hear your viewpoints and get the message out. We'll go back into the studio and I'll do a beginning and an end, and it all go together. We'll have links in the description and the show notes, so anything that you want added, have your assistants send those to me.
Sure.
And to anybody that's watching or listening, please listen to Inna. Check out the organizations if you're able to. As somebody who, even though I've only been here for 5 days, I've lived through the air raid sirens at 3-4 o'clock in the morning.
Did you hear the explosion?
Oh yeah, last night was the biggest. I woke up and it's like shaking.
Yeah. No. And I'll tell you this, I recently went on a business trip, and my son is here in Ukraine.
Oh.
He's 10. His name is Martin, and he's here in Ukraine. I never took him out of the country. And I got very much scared when I'm away, but he's here.
Yeah.
It's much more scary than when you are here inside. That's point one. But second is, on our way back, because you cannot fly to Ukraine, so we drove from Poland to Kyiv, and we stayed in the hotel in Poland with a friend. And over the night, about 5 in the morning, there was apparently some trash car or something that kind of made some very big sound, like very big noise. And both me and my friend, who was sleeping in another room in a hotel, we both in the morning said, like, did you hear the sound? And she said, yes, I did, and me too. We both woke up shaking, because for us that sounded like an explosion.
Right.
That is what people need to remember. It's like, yeah, you can see Kyiv, like, I'm having my nice espresso coffee, which is like espresso tonic. It's very nice, actually. But it doesn't mean that war is not here. War is here every day, and war is here in our minds every day. It's something that we can look normal, and we try to behave normal, but it's a very scary experience, and it's something that none of us chose to go through. None of us wanted to live like this. None of us wanted to be like this. We like, my partner is in the army. His children from his first marriage, they're away in another country. He hasn't seen them for over a year, and then he visited them for a week, and then he doesn't know when he will see them again. You know, it's all extremely unpleasant, and we did nothing to deserve this.
Right.
That is what I want you to stay with, this thing. It's like, this is very scary, even if we, can look normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if your life can look normal, but still.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Well, I hope you enjoyed watching and listening to our interview with Inna. Very lively, very resilient herself, and lots of energy. And we just want to thank her for her time spending with us, as well as her staff of setting up the interview, which trying to juggle schedules of a parliament member with my schedule of being there for a few days. We were able to get that put together. So thank you to Inna, thank you to her staff, and we wish Inna and the country as a whole of Ukraine nothing but the best. And the Voices for Voices, we support you and what you're doing, and we look forward to the day, as you do, where you're free and able to return to your homes and villages where some of the people have been displaced. So if you're able to, reach out to some of the resources that Inna spoke about. If you're able to donate monetarily, or just really learn about Ukraine and about their resilience. So for this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast, I am Justin Allen Hayes, and please be a voice for you or somebody in need.